twin moons of Gareth burned high over the battlefield, casting their cold light on the shattered land below. Smoke coiled in the sky. Steel clashed in the distance. The war had started without warning, as if the stars themselves had whispered treason into the ears of every empire. No one knew the first shot would come from Earth. No one expected it to matter. Humans weren't supposed to win. They weren't even supposed to survive. The Dakar Dominion, rulers of 4 sectors and conquerors of 83 worlds, had laughed when Earth sent a single warship into the border zone. 1 ship against a fleet. 1 crew against legions. It was a joke, until that joke lit up the stars with fire and turned 1,000 years of military history to dust in one day. Among the Dominion, a warrior known as Commander Ravenna stood at the front lines. Born into a caste that knew only combat, she had never tasted fear. Her skin was the deep green of her kind, marked with symbols of victory carved into her armor and flesh. She had led campaigns across asteroid fields and crushed rebellions with her bare hands. Her oath was sealed in blood, sworn before her empress, never to kneel, never to surrender, never to follow anyone except a conqueror stronger than herself. She believed no such being existed, until she met him. The humans didn't fight like the Dakar. They didn't move in clean formations or wait for orders. They were chaotic, wild, and relentless. And among them, one soldier moved like a ghost through the chaos. No name, no rank, just a man with eyes that burned and a blade that refused to miss. Ravenna first saw him when he tore through the elite guards of her warpost. 12 armored warriors fell before she could even draw her blade. He didn't shout. He didn't boast. He simply moved forward like gravity obeyed him. She struck with full force. Their blades met. Sparks flew. Her strength was unmatched. But he didn't need more power. He used precision, calm, timing. Her arm locked, her foot slipped, and in a blink his blade touched her throat. He didn't kill her, that made it worse. Something ancient stirred in her chest. Not fear, not shame, something primal. Her blood called it surrender. Her mind screamed in denial, but her oath was older than pride. It had been sealed in front of stars and ancestors. If defeated by one stronger, she must follow. She lowered her weapon and spoke the vow in her native tongue. He didn't understand her words, but he saw her drop to one knee. "Are you yielding?" he asked, confused. She looked up. "I am yours." He hesitated, unsure if it was a trap, but something in her eyes told him it wasn't. There was no deception, only truth. She had lost. And now, by the laws she had lived by since birth, she belonged to him. The war still burned behind them. Cities were falling. Ships exploded in orbit. But in that moment, something greater than war had happened. One oath had been fulfilled. And it would change everything. The human reached out a hand to help her up. She took it. The battle wasn't over. But for Ravenna, the war had ended the moment she met the only man she could ever follow, and she would never leave his side again. Ravenna walked silently behind him through the wreckage of the burned outpost. Her armor clinked with every step, but her eyes were steady. She didn't look back at her fallen soldiers. She didn't mourn. Her world had changed in one moment. Her oath was no longer to the Dakar Dominion. It was now bound to a man who didn't even know her name. The human kept glancing over his shoulder. His grip never left his blade. His instincts told him she could kill him at any moment. But she didn't. She followed, not like a prisoner or a beaten enemy, but like something else, something ancient and dangerous. He finally stopped beside a wrecked vehicle and turned. "You're not going to stab me in the back?" She tilted her head. "You beat me. I follow you now. You live. I live. You die. I die." He frowned. "That's not how we do things. You don't owe me anything." Her green skin shimmered under the faint moonlight. "I swore before the Empress and my ancestors. My life was mine until I lost it. You hold it now." He didn't know what to say. He had fought aliens before, but none like her. This wasn't surrender, it was something deeper, a vow older than their war. "My name's Cole," he finally said. She nodded once. "I am Ravenna." They moved together now, not as allies, not yet, but not as enemies either. Cole's radio was damaged. He had no way to call for help. Behind, enemy lines low on ammo, no backup. And now, with a towering alien warrior following him like a silent ghost, he led her toward the ruins of a communication tower. It was risky. Dominion drones still circled the skies, but he had no choice. If he didn't send a signal soon, Earth would assume he was dead. Ravenna stayed close. Her eyes scanned every ridge, every shadow. When they were ambushed by 2 Dominion scouts, she didn't hesitate. Her blade flashed. Cole didn't even need to lift his weapon. After the skirmish, he stared at her. "Why help me?" She looked him dead in the eyes. "Because you're mine now." That answer shook something in him. They reached the tower by nightfall. It was damaged but partially intact. Cole climbed the structure, rewired a power cell, and began transmitting. Static. Static. Then a ping. "Command, this is Cole. I'm alive. Send evac coordinates." The voice on the other end was shocked. "We thought you were lost. Extraction team en route." Cole sighed in relief. Then he looked down at the ground below. Ravenna was watching the horizon, blades drawn. The Dominion would not let them go so easily. When he climbed back down, she stood ready. "You are leaving soon," she said. "I am," he nodded. "I will come with you." Cole hesitated. "They won't trust you. You're the enemy." She took a step closer. "Then I will fight whoever tries to separate me from you." He believed her. She would burn cities if he asked. Not because she loved him, not yet, but because her vow bound her soul to his shadow. She wasn't a prisoner. She wasn't a servant. She was a storm that chose to follow the one who calmed her, and Earth had no idea what was coming. The Earth ship broke through the upper atmosphere with a deep rumble. Inside, the lights flickered as turbulence shook the cabin. Cole sat quietly near the window, his knuckles white around the straps holding him in place. Beside him sat Ravenna, calm and still. Her eyes didn't blink. She had never seen Earth, but she showed no fear. The soldiers aboard the extraction vessel whispered about her. A Dominion warrior, captured or maybe brainwashed. Some thought she was a ticking bomb. Others wondered why she hadn't been locked, in chains. But Cole had spoken clearly to command. "She saved my life. She's not a prisoner. She's under my protection." It didn't stop the stares. Ravenna ignored them. Her gaze stayed locked on Cole. Every time he moved, she adjusted. Every time he blinked, she blinked after. She mirrored him without thinking. She wasn't a machine. She was something far more unsettling to the crew, she believed. When they landed at the Earth military base, the silence broke. Guns were raised, shouts were fired, orders echoed across the tarmac. "Step away from the alien. She's with me," Cole shouted, stepping between her and the weapons. "She's Dominion," barked a commander. "She's under my command," Cole said again, this time louder. Ravenna didn't flinch. She stood behind him, armor scratched and burned, her long red hair tied back, her expression unreadable. She would have taken every bullet, but she wouldn't lift her blade unless he gave the word. The base commander finally lowered his weapon. "Fine, but she stays monitored at all times." Cole nodded. "She won't be a problem." But she was already a problem. Every hallway they walked, soldiers stopped. Engineers turned. Scientists whispered. A green-skinned warrior walking 2 steps behind a human soldier was something no one had seen before. Cole brought her to the debriefing chamber. The brass sat behind a thick glass wall. They watched as Ravenna stood silently beside him while he explained how she had saved his life, how she refused to leave his side, and how she followed not because she had to, but because her people's ancient code demanded it. "She thinks I'm her conqueror," Cole said quietly. She made an oath. She's not pretending, she believes it. One general leaned forward. "And do you believe her?" Cole looked at the glass, then at the woman standing silently at his side. Yes, I do. They ran tests on her. Monitored her movement. Tried to understand her biology, her language, her culture. She allowed it all, never complaining, never resisting. But she never answered anyone else. Only Cole. When they tried to separate them for a scan, she threw a technician across the room. Not out of rage. Just instinct. When they told her to sleep, in a separate chamber, she stood at Cole's door all night unmoving, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Cole couldn't sleep. He wasn't afraid of her. But the weight of her oath pressed on him. She trusted him, fought for him, watched over him. And she didn't even know what coffee was. One morning, he handed her a small cup. She sniffed it, sipped it, then blinked slowly. This is bitter, she said. That's coffee, he replied. She drank again. I like it. Small things like that reminded him she wasn't just a weapon or a vow in armor. She was a person, a warrior raised in fire, shaped by tradition, now walking through a human base like a living myth, and the world was watching. News spread fast. Pictures leaked. Dominion elite warrior follows human soldier everywhere. The headlines asked if Earth had discovered a new weapon or if something else had happened entirely. Cole didn't care about the headlines, but he knew this wasn't over. The Dominion wouldn't forget her. They wouldn't forgive her. And when they came for her, they would find she no longer stood alone. The sky above Earth was clear that night, but the stars hid something behind their silence. Cole stood on the balcony of the military compound, overlooking the training fields. Below, soldiers moved through drills. He wasn't watching them, he was watching Ravenna. She moved through combat training alone, blades slicing the air in patterns both brutal and graceful. No one dared spar with her, not after what happened last time. She had broken a reinforced training drone with a single strike. It wasn't rage. It was control. Every day she asked Cole one question. When will we fight again? He never gave her an answer. Command had grounded him for now. Too many eyes were watching. Earth's leaders wanted to study Ravenna, understand her species' codes and culture. But the problem was clear. They didn't understand devotion, not the kind that was written in blood and bone. That night, the stars spoke. An incoming transmission hit Earth's military channels without warning. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from any known ally. The signature was clear. Dakar Dominion. A warship orbiting just beyond sensor range, cloaked and silent. The message was simple. Return our warrior. She is not yours. Or prepare for war. Panic spread through the base like wildfire. Alarms rang, satellite feeds lit up. The Dominion wasn't supposed to be this close to Earth. No one even knew they had a cloaked vessel in this system. Command summoned Cole immediately. This is your fault, the general snapped. She brought them here. She didn't call them, Cole replied. They came for her. They want her back. And if we don't hand her over? Cole looked the general dead in the eyes. Then they'll start a war right at our doorstep. Command argued for hours. Some wanted to return her. Some wanted to use her as bait. Some feared keeping her would bring Earth to its knees. Cole didn't wait for the vote. He found Ravenna in the armory sharpening her blade. She turned before he even spoke. They are here, she said. You knew? She nodded. I feel them. My blood remembers the sound of their ships. They want you back. Ravenna stood tall. I will not go. I belong here now. They'll attack, Cole said. Thousands could die. Ravenna lowered her blade and walked to him slowly. Then let them come. If I must fall defending this place, I will. But I will never kneel to them again. Cole didn't expect her next move. She dropped to one knee in front of him and pressed her forehead to the floor. I make a second vow, she said quietly. Not just to follow, but to protect. If Earth falls, I fall with it. Her voice echoed. In the silence, Cole reached down and lifted her gently to her feet. Then we faced them together. News of the Dominion threat spread fast. Earth's population buzzed with fear. But something else began to stir. Something unexpected. People saw Ravenna. They saw her train, stand watch, and walk beside her human commander with pride. Not as a prisoner, not as an invader, but as a guardian. The media started calling her the Shield of Earth. Some still feared her. Others called her a hero. But none could ignore the truth. She had chosen Earth. And when the Dominion finally arrived, they wouldn't be fighting just one species. They'd be fighting a warrior who had made her second vow, and this time she had a world behind her. The Dominion warship appeared above Earth with no warning. It dropped its cloak like a beast revealing its fangs. Cities across the globe looked up in fear. The ship was massive, like a floating continent, carved with ancient runes that shimmered. Red with power, its message came with thunder. This world harbors a traitor. Deliver her within one cycle or face destruction. Panic set in across the military networks. Earth's defenses weren't prepared for a direct confrontation. The ship was armed with weapons that had shattered moons and vaporized fleets. Even with all their new technology, Earth stood no chance in a direct fight. In the base command center, Cole watched the red warning lights blink across the screen. Around him, generals shouted orders and debated strategies. None of it mattered. They were talking as if this was a normal war, but it wasn't. Ravenna stood at the center of the room, quiet and calm, watching the screen. Her voice finally broke through the noise. They won't negotiate. They'll burn this world to ash to erase me. The room went silent. Cole stepped forward. Then we need to hit them first. A general scoffed. With what? Slingshots? They'll destroy our satellites before we can aim. Ravenna turned to him. You don't need to destroy their ship. You need to destroy their leader. Impossible, another officer snapped. Their high marshal sits in the heart of that vessel. Ravenna looked at Cole. Then take me. To him. The officers laughed, but Cole didn't. He understood what she meant. The Dominion wouldn't listen to reason, but they still followed tradition. If Ravenna challenged the High Marshal to personal combat, he would be forced to accept. If she wins, Cole said, the attack ends. And if she loses? Someone asked. She dies. Cole replied. And they keep coming. Ravenna didn't flinch. Then I must not lose. They called for a diplomatic channel. The Dominion answered quickly, the face of the High Marshal, appearing on screen. He wore ceremonial armor, his face hidden behind a mask of jagged bone and light. Ravenna stepped forward. I invoke the right of severance. You know what it means. The High Marshal tilted his head. You are no longer of our kind. Your words mean nothing. I speak as the fallen. But my blade still remembers your name. There was silence. Then the High Marshal nodded slowly. Very well, one cycle, one blade, one end. The challenge was set. They gave Ravenna a choice of weapons. She chose her twin curved blades, symbols of her old rank. Cole walked beside her to the transport bay. You don't have to do this, he said. She looked at him. I do. Not because of the vow. Because I want to. He didn't argue. He only reached into his pocket and handed her something small. It was a metal badge with his unit symbol. Bring it back, he said. She closed her fingers around it without a word. The transport carried her into orbit, toward the Dominion ship. The docking bay opened like the jaws of a monster, swallowing her into silence. Back on Earth, Cole watched the sky. Inside the Dominion vessel, Ravenna stepped into the arena. Thousands of Dominion soldiers stood in rows, silent and cold. The High Marshal waited at the center, his blade already drawn. Ravenna drew hers slowly. She had once called this place home. She had once believed this man to be the voice of strength. Now she saw weakness behind the steel. This was not a battle of blades. It was a battle for the right to choose, and she had already chosen. She would not die a traitor. She would live as something greater. The arena inside the Dominion warship was shaped like a circle of steel and stone, cold and ancient. It had seen many battles, many challenges, but never one like this. Never a warrior who stood against her own bloodline. Ravenna stood tall, blades gripped in each hand. Across from her stood the High Marshal, cloaked in black metal, his helmet glowing with crimson light. He raised a curved sword that pulsed with dark energy. Thousands of Dominion soldiers watched from the shadowed balconies. Their armor gleamed in silence. No one cheered. No one moved. It was a sacred duel. Life or death. No interruptions. No mercy. Cole watched from Earth, his eyes locked on the satellite feed that relayed the fight. He had never felt so helpless. He couldn't protect her now. He could only believe in her. Ravenna moved first. Her feet struck the floor like thunder. She spun with both blades cutting the air, striking fast. The High Marshal blocked with one hand, his power pushing her back. "You were the best of us," he said. "Now you are nothing." "I was never yours," she replied, swinging again. Their blades clashed, ringing like bells in a storm. Sparks flew with each strike. He was strong, stronger than anyone she had faced. But he didn't know her anymore. He didn't know how her soul had changed. He didn't see that she fought not just for herself now. She fought for a world that had welcomed her. She fought for a human who never asked for her loyalty, but earned it. The High Marshal launched a brutal flurry. His sword glowed hotter, crackling, with energy. One strike caught her shoulder. Her armor cracked. Blood ran down her arm. She staggered. "You are broken," he growled. But Ravenna's eyes didn't fall. She looked past him. She saw Earth. She saw the base. She saw Cole. "I am not broken," she whispered. "I am free." With a roar, she surged forward, twisting low. Her blade caught his leg, slicing clean. He stumbled. She didn't wait. She rose, struck again. One sword met his chest plate, bending it inward. The other blade went higher, knocking his helmet off. His face was pale, older than she remembered, but his eyes still held pride. "You dishonor everything," he hissed. She lowered both blades. "No, I finally honor myself." With one final motion, she spun and brought both swords down in a cross. The High Marshal fell to his knees, then collapsed unconscious. Silence filled the arena. No one moved. Then slowly, the soldiers watching did something no one expected. They lowered their heads, not in shame, in respect. Ravenna stood over the fallen leader, panting. Her body ached, her armor was cracked, her blood stained the ground, but she was alive, and she had won. The Dominion commander stepped forward from the crowd. "The right is fulfilled," he said. "The warship will depart." Ravenna didn't answer. She turned and walked away from the body. A transport waited for her. She entered it without a word. On Earth, the sky was quiet again. Inside the base, Cole stepped outside just as the stars lit up with a return beacon. He watched the shuttle descend through the clouds. When the hatch opened, Ravenna stepped out, holding her broken helmet in one hand. Her other arm was wrapped in bandages. But her eyes were clear. Cole walked up to her and opened his mouth to speak, but she beat him to it. "I kept your badge," she said, and in her hand, she held it, still clutched tight. Cole smiled. "You're insane." She returned the smile, just barely. "I belong to you, remember?" He shook his head. "You don't belong to anyone." "Then I choose to stay." Peace came, but it was not quiet. The Dominion ship left Earth's orbit as promised. The High Marshal's defeat was accepted by their code, and for now, their war was over. Earth celebrated. News channels ran footage of Ravenna's victory. Soldiers cheered her name. Children wore toy versions of her twin blades. But not everyone celebrated. In secret rooms deep beneath Earth's military base, voices whispered about danger, about what Ravenna really was. A living weapon. A symbol of alien power that could shift loyalties or destroy from within. Cole noticed the change first. Doors that had once opened for them were now sealed. Missions that used to come to him were now passed to others. High-ranking officers avoided eye contact. Eyes followed them, not with awe, but with fear. "They think I'll turn on you," Ravenna said one evening, sitting beside him on the barracks roof. Cole leaned back and looked at the stars. "They're scared of what they don't understand," she nodded. "That makes them weak. They call it being careful." She glanced at him. "Do you trust me?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes." Her eyes softened for the first time in days. But trouble was brewing. An explosion rocked the base the next morning. Cole woke to alarms blaring, smoke filling the hallway. He grabbed his gear and ran, Ravenna already beside him. Fires burned in the east hangar. Medical teams shouted. And in the center of the chaos stood a captured Dominion scout ship. Someone had brought it inside the base. Someone from Earth. The investigation was silent and brutal. Cole wasn't called to help. He was called for questioning. Not about the attack, but about Ravenna. "How well do you know her?" one officer asked. "She's saved my life more than once," Cole answered. "Could she be sending messages to her people?" "No. Are you sure?" "Yes." They didn't believe him. That night, 2 soldiers came to take her away. No warning, no orders shown, just an excuse. "She's a risk to security." Cole stood in their path. "You're making a mistake." One soldier tried to shove past. Ravenna moved without thinking. She grabbed his wrist and twisted until he dropped his weapon. Alarms rang again. More guards appeared. Cole stepped between them. "Stop. This isn't how we treat our allies." "She's not an ally," one of them muttered. "She's a threat in armor." Ravenna looked calm, but her voice was colder than ever. "You fear what I could do, not what I have done." They held her in a locked observation cell. No windows, just 4 white walls. She didn't sleep. She sat in the center, unmoving. Cole visited every day. They wouldn't let him in, so he sat on the other side of the glass. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't see this coming." She looked up. "You gave me your world. I never expected them to give me their trust." "Then we'll earn it," he said. She shook her head. "Trust is not earned with victories. It is earned with silence, obedience, and fear." He saw something in her eyes he had never seen before. Not rage, not pain, disappointment. Cole went to the top. He met with generals, officials, even media. He gave interviews. He told the story again and again. How she had saved Earth. How she had turned her blade against her own empire. How she had chosen loyalty when she could have chosen vengeance, but whispers still filled the air. Earth had won a warrior, but it might still lose its own soul. The silence in Ravenna's cell stretched for days. No guards spoke, no lights changed, no sound except her own breath. But she didn't move. Her warrior heart stayed still. Her blade had been taken, her armor stored in a vault. All that remained was her memory of why she came here. She had chosen this world. And now this world had chosen to lock her away. Then the door opened, Cole stepped inside, eyes tired, jaw tight. "They're letting you out," he said. She looked at him but said nothing. He stepped closer. They finally listened. The base command changed. "The media turned in your favor. You're free now." Still, she didn't speak. "Ravenna," he said softly. "It's over." "No," she finally whispered. "It's beginning." She stood and walked out with him, head held high. The halls were quiet. Soldiers watched from corners, some saluted, others lowered their gaze. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Every step was louder than words. Outside, under the sunlight, the new general of the base waited. "We owe you more than apologies," he said, "but we'll start there." Ravenna simply nodded. The general continued. "We would like you to stay. Train with us. Teach our fighters. You're not a prisoner. You're a protector." "I follow one man," she said, "but I will defend this world with him." It was more than enough. Over the next weeks, Earth changed. So did she. Ravenna taught elite human units how to move, how to think like a Dominion soldier, how to fight with blades instead of fear. Soldiers who once feared her now lined up to learn. Some still looked at her with doubt, others with awe, but none ignored her anymore. She wore new armor now, forged from earth steel, shaped by her own hands, still curved like Dominion style, but marked with symbols of Earth's sun and Cole's unit badge on her chest. One day, while walking the training yard, a child from a visiting diplomat's family ran toward her. She froze. The child was no threat. Just a little girl holding a toy sword, smiling wide. "Are you the alien hero?" the girl asked. Ravenna knelt slowly. "I am just a warrior." The child placed a flower in her hand. "My mom says you saved my future." Ravenna looked at the flower for a long time. Then, for the first time since she left her people, she smiled. Cole saw it happen. He didn't interrupt. He knew something deep had shifted in her. She wasn't just following a vow anymore. She was living a new life. That night, they stood under the stars again. "Do you ever miss them?" Cole asked. "My people," she said. "I miss the sound of their ships, the fire in their training halls, but not the silence of their obedience." "Would you go back if they asked?" She turned toward him. "Would you?" He laughed. "Touché." She looked up at the stars, then down at Earth. "This planet is loud, chaotic, messy. Sounds about right. But it is also honest." She paused, then placed her palm over her heart. "I will make one final vow." Cole tensed. "Another?" She nodded. "No longer to follow, no longer to protect. This vow is for me." She raised her eyes to his. "I choose this world, not because I must, not because of tradition, but because it showed me something greater than strength." He didn't say anything. He just stood beside her. Two warriors, two species, one future. And for the first time in her life, Ravenna belonged not to war, not to an empire, not to a conqueror, but to herself.